All right. Second thing I want to talk about today is the First Amendment, the freedom of speech, protest, and exercise. The First Amendment was created for times like 2020, and the Second Amendment, to be honest. That's why they're trying to get rid of that and well-regulated militias. But the First Amendment was created for times like this, when you start losing everything, when you start losing your ability to protest and Facebook deletes you. When they say protesting, the First Amendment is a public health crisis and you can't do it. But, people who are mad after what happened to George Floyd, apparently the science says that they can do whatever they want no matter how violent it is or how chaotic it is, but you can't peacefully protest the lockdown because that's some sort of right. The First Amendment was created for a time like this, and they're trying to use public health or health, what's best for your safety, and everyone's playing it. The World Health Organization, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Uber, all of these big tech companies that run our life now, they're all playing this game that you shouldn't have the right to say what you want to say because your First Amendment right is a public health threat. And this is the perfect Trojan horse to destroy our society. And that's what they're doing. And I hate to sound crazy because they're going to say Anomaly's a conspiracy theorist. No, Joe Biden's a conspiracy theorist when he says Russia hacked, his emails or whatever. He's like, oh, it's Russia. That's a conspiracy theory. Trump worked with Russia, Mueller. That's a 3-year conspiracy. Those are conspiracy theories. What I do is read historical books. I read the Communist Manifesto. I read Color, Communism, Common Sense. I'm reading the COVID-19, The Great Reset. Founder of World Economic Forum wrote a book about his vision of the world. I'm reading the text that they actually write and telling you, I don't think this is about public health. I think this is about communism. I think this is about total control. And I think this is about them using this pandemic, which is real, as a Trojan horse to do everything that they want to do. In fact, I know that that's what they're doing, but they've somehow manipulated everybody's mind with fear and with viruses to think that the First Amendment of the U.S. Constitution is a threat to public health. Quarantining the healthy is somehow a fantastic idea. Reusing masks and wearing a mask 20 times in a row is better than just breathing air. You could sit in an airplane with 100, 200 people, but you can't go to a restaurant with 10 or 15 people. You can't go to a hair salon, but you can go, burn down somebody. This is the logic they're going. It's not scientific. I mean, there's data on all sides that you can make an argument for either or, in which I read the book also, How to Lie with Statistics. I'm almost finished with it, but, these are things that they don't want to allow you to say, and I don't want to get into all that stuff, but what I want to say is, to not make this too long of a conversation, the freedom of speech, the First Amendment, your right to protest, your right to exercise your opinion, expression, was made for this time. This is like the perfect time for the First Amendment, which is why they're trying to take it away. And I just pray that more people figure this out, unless they're so stupid to think that because this happened, that I lose my rights, I lose my company, my kid has to act like an animal slave for 5 years. There is no timeline anymore. It went from hospitalizations to deaths to cases to, just extended till whenever they decide to let us have it all back. We're losing everything, but that's totally normal because thinking for yourself or having a counter perspective, no matter how scientific or data-driven it is, even if it's completely scientific and data-driven, even if you're the White House scientist, they're censoring their free speech. And these are experts that have one of the highest positions in the country. This is not normal, and this is the exact time that the First Amendment was made for. So I hope people figure that out. And I also want to say, this is, to be quite fair, what the Second Amendment was created for. You look at the Second Amendment, your right to bear arms and your right to a well-regulated militia. Your right to bear arms, yes, you can go hunting. Yes, there's other things involved. But a lot of this, I believe, was, when it comes to well-regulated militias, it's not a hunting team. It's a well-regulated militia to defend your liberty against tyranny, domestic or foreign. They take a pledge to, I forget what it is, like defend the country against, domestic or foreign enemies or whatever. I don't know. I'm sorry. I don't understand the oath word for word, but you get what I'm saying. These are the times it was made for. So obviously I don't condone violence. I don't condone bigotry or hatred or negativity or whatever. But at the same time, you look at the McCloskeys in St. Louis. I'm not Mr. Gun Fanatic, but I believe in the right to bear arms. And when you have somebody breaking into your property and going crazy and threatening you, that's literally what it's for. That's why you have the Second Amendment. And then they exercise their right and then all of a sudden they're the criminal. This is not random. This is the same people who are trying to globally take over and systemically take over and crush America. They're writing books about it. I'm reading the books about it. And then if I say it, they cancel me because they're taking over America. They're taking over the country. They're using this pandemic, which is real, and the virus, which is real, as a Trojan horse to implement total authoritative control and a technocracy, big tech run state where a few tech companies control the public squares, don't believe in the Constitution, and don't even believe in fair elections as they threaten you from saying it. You can post, I can't even talk about it, but you could post a CBS article like I did or an NBC article. I'm not making this stuff up. It's like hundreds of thousands of ballots. There's problems, just like in every, like Seattle and San Francisco. It's not like there's no crime. It's like, yeah, we have rules, but sometimes people break the rules. This happens at every level of society. Taco Bell employees mess up. But you're not allowed to say that there's any sort of election mess ups, even though it's being widely reported that there are mess ups because the world is not a perfect place. I mean, this is so basic First Amendment that they're taking away from you right in front of an election. And this is not random. And it's the same with well-regulated militias. If you watch my last video, you can see Trevor Noah attacking well-regulated militias, the very sneaky and the very disingenuous Chris Wallace. He said, Trump, do you condemn white supremacy and militias? It's like, do you condemn neo-Nazis and free speech? It's like comparing to, it's like, do you condemn Antifa and the right to publicly express yourself like non-violently? He's purposely, a very sneaky, deceptive snake, Chris Wallace, purposely pairing the Second Amendment of the Constitution with white supremacy. So it's like, do you condemn white supremacy in the Second Amendment? It's like, what? What a sneaky guy that is. I mean, the lady who did the last debate blew him away, but this is what they're doing. There's a well-regulated effort to take away the first two amendments. And they do it with little strategies like this, like, oh my God, condemn the militias. Yeah, condemn a bad militia that's not regulated, but a well-regulated militia is, you're right, whether it's, in what state or whatever. This is the time that it was created for. So all these, governors and such who are playing victim, no disrespect, obviously I don't condone anything illegal or anything wrong, but you're taking away people's right to live freely. You're upending the Constitution. You're totally destroying your state. You're treating people like animals and slaves. This is unlike anything we've ever seen before in our lives. And you said it was 15 days, and then it's a couple months, and then it's 6 months in 2022. And there's no time. This is what the first two amendments were made for. So it's like, am I supposed to feel bad for people who are just completely tyrannical, authoritative dictators? It's like, no, I don't. I wouldn't want Trump to do that. I wouldn't want Obama to do that. I wouldn't want Mitch McConnell to do that. And at a certain point, this is why we have the freedom of speech. This is why we have our right to say we don't agree with it. But they're taking away the First Amendment and they're trying to take away the Second Amendment. So as they steal more control, as they steal more power, as they shut down your business, I speak about what's going on to me and people say, anomaly, why do you keep complaining about it? First of all, in order to sue these companies, it takes hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars. Second of all, Congress screwed up, so it's really hard to win a case. But also, third of all, what I have at the end of the day, I don't have all the money that they have. I don't have all the power that they have. My power comes to my audience. So as long as I have a voice, I'm going to scream to the high heavens and let millions of people know what they're doing. And it is effective. I've got viral tweets now that even like congressmen are seeing and it's going viral. So this is all I have. And that's true to everybody. Everybody at the end of the day, all you really have, if you lose everything else, is the freedom to explain what happened. And it's not just me that's losing my money or my job. And I'm doing fine because I'm innovative. So I actually found a way with shirts and Patreon and stuff. I'm going to be fine. I'll probably not even drop a single cent, even though I'm losing a lot, because I found a way to, I'm creative, and so have a lot of other people. But it's not just me. When you shut down 30% of my reach, which is what they're doing, they're also doing it to restaurants. When you can only have 25% capacity, what do you think that does to your business? You can only have at max, 50% or 25%? They're doing to me with my reach what they've done to thousands, if not millions, of businesses across the country. And it's been wrong the entire time. Even before it affected me, I've been out here since March and April and June and July and August using my platform, using my free speech to tell everybody how wrong this is. And I was able to do well off it during the pandemic while other people were suffering. So what I did is I sent thousands of dollars out to people on Venmo. I don't even have a lot of money comparative to all the other people who have my reach, but I, out of my own pocket that I'm never going to get back, gave money to people because I saw how messed up this is. And if I'm profiting while everybody else is losing stuff, I'm going to give a portion of my salary from Facebook to my audience who is losing everything during March and during April. And now it's just status quo. I mean, it's October and they have no plan of going back. I don't know how people are doing. Some people are on welfare or whatever you want to call it, government subsidies. I don't know what they call it, unemployment or furlough. And some people aren't. I mean, I don't know exactly what's going on. I can only tell you for myself. But as they're destroying businesses such as mine and others, they're telling you you can't even talk about it. This is the exact time you need the First Amendment to say what the F is going on. And I'm very well versed in the data. And this is the sneaky games Facebook plays. I use the actual data from Johns Hopkins worldometers.info and then Lead Stories, or whatever they're called, Lead Stories, the fact checker on Facebook, these loser demons. They write a whole fact checker article dedicated to one of my posts because I said New York and New Jersey are doing the worst in deaths per capita. And it's true. Even in their own stupid fact check article that they dedicated to me, they made a whole one for me, they admitted it is true, but we think it's going to be worse in the future. Well, it's 3 months in the future since you wrote the article, and what I said is still true. And I said in my video, because I do better work than you do, I said this might not always be the case. You can't tell what state's going to sink or rise. Just like they said Sweden was doing so bad, Trump, the media, Democrats, and Sweden's doing better because they went for herd immunity. They avoided lockdowns, they avoided mask mandates, and they're doing it properly. That's real science. That's real data that they ignored. Peru had a very strict lockdown, and besides San Marino, which is a small province in Italy, Peru's doing the worst. This is real data. I have the data. I use the data, and they still shut me down. This is authoritarianism. This is communism. This is total sabotage of America. This is evil. This is the type of thing that you never would have been able to get away with in the 1900s because things were a lot less politically correct. And that's why George Carlin said political correctness, I'm roughly quoting him, political correctness is fascism with manners. All this BS they're doing, using women, using black people, using minorities, using people at the border, using words, coyotes, illegal aliens, things that they pretend are offensive. These are not nice things to help Hispanic people or black people or women. These are ways to exploit and use people in order to push a political agenda of control, so then when you realize what they're doing and you push back against it and you say you're wrong, actually at the border, people are getting human trafficked. So you're not helping women, you're letting women get raped. They say you hate Mexicans, or they say you hate black people, or you hate women. But the truth is not convenient for them because everything's so politically correct, they've set it up so you can't say anything. And this year was the biggest overhaul of the First Amendment because they did something evil genius. I'm not going to say it's genius in a good way. It's an evil genius move. They've decided that, well, you know, if you were racist before, even though you weren't, that's bad, sexist, whatever. But they knew the First Amendment was not allowed to supersede that. So what they did is they used a public health crisis to say that your words are going to kill people. So now they've given themselves the power and authority to shut down your freedom of speech because they've decided that those words affect people. And there's actually a court case on this that Amy Coney Barrett supported. So everybody that thinks she's going to be so great, she'll be better than Ruth Bader Ginsburg probably, God bless her soul. But is she this like astronomical freedom fighter? I hope she is, but there's a case with vaccines called Jacob Shavin, I forget, or I'm sorry, that's the glacier. Jacobson, some sort of case in the 1900s talking about the government's right to basically give you a forced inoculation or some sort of medication. And Alan Dershowitz talked about it, and a lot of politicians are using that or trying to use it as a justification to push this through. So they found a loophole that says, well, technically this can supersede the Constitution because this is, you're affecting everyone else's health, so the government can force you to do this or that. They're using sneaky little clauses or whatever you want to call them, bills. I don't know the exact definition of it to get away with this stuff, and they are getting away with it in many ways. So this whole year is a total sham. It's a total takeover of America. And I read the Communist Manifesto. I read their plans. I see what they're doing. I know what they're doing. They're trying to do very similar to what Karl Marx wanted to do, which is, I read the Communist Manifesto. He didn't like America. He didn't like Europe. He had a huge anti-European, anti-American bias. He wanted to control all private property. So basically you'd be a slave to the state. You don't own anything. All the communications, so you have no free speech. All the transportation, so you can't go anywhere without their permission. All the banking, so the money's not yours. He was a total con artist. I mean, before I read the Communist Manifesto, I thought it didn't work because it's just a naive plan. I thought it was this grandiose liberal plan that just didn't work in society. Now that I read the Communist Manifesto, I realize it does work. It just doesn't work how the idiots who think it works how they've been told it works. Read the Communist Manifesto for yourself. It's a very short book. I think it's like 40, 50 pages. And you'll see it works exactly how it's planned. In communist China and Russia, whether millions of people get killed or you just live in like a technocracy slave state, it's designed to be that way. You think you can give up all your transportation, all your media, all your communication, all your banking, and all your property to one singular group, and that they're just going to give it back to everybody? Oh, they're going to split it for the blacks and the Hispanics and the women, and everyone's going to live equally. It's not even designed to do that. I mean, reading the Communist Manifesto, I'm like, how stupid are people to read this and think that they're getting the power back? If you give the power to Karl Marx or his buddies, and they own and control everything, and you have no property, you're screwed. This is like modern day slavery, which is why it always ends up in that type of fashion, and people die because it's a terrible system that's built to give a very small percentage of people all the control over everything, and you have nothing. You're not allowed to own anything. It's the opposite of libertarianism. So right wing, the further right wing you go on a political scale, maybe not social, but it's like less government, more freedom. You know, you can own stuff. They can't go in your pockets all the time with taxes. And the further left you go, it's massive taxation, which is a Karl Marx standard too. He wanted a progressive tax. The government controls everything. So it's the difference between total government control and not government control, which is why they hate President Trump, because although he can be a little, maybe too big government sometimes, for the most part, he does less executive orders. He doesn't overstep like Gavin Newsom does and Phil Murphy and Whitmer does. He's not an authoritarian. He's not a fascist. He's like the opposite. He's the least of all of these people. He does the least. He actually wants to run the system. They want control of everything. So that's why they hate Trump, is he's actually trying to go further right, which is smaller government. He's cut a lot of regulations. And unfortunately, the one regulation that they needed, big tech, or rather they could have gotten rid of Section 230, the thing that protects big tech, they didn't do for 4 years. And now it's a couple weeks before the election and they screwed themselves. But we'll see what happens this election. But that's what I want to say to today. I'm going to hang out and get to a few of your questions. Is the First Amendment was created, and the Second Amendment were created for a time like this, when you're losing everything, when you're not allowed to operate as normally, when the whole world looks like a sci-fi Orwellian horror movie and you're told you're a horrible person for even questioning if it's working, when all the data says that it's not working. And in other countries where they don't do this, there's already proof, like in Sweden, where it does work, because it's really just basic common sense. But you can't have that anymore, which is why I have on dreamrare.com is common sense, illegal or censored shirt or whatever. But you get what I'm saying. This is when we need the First Amendment the most, which is why they're trying to use the public health crisis as a justification for completely upending it. But if you read their books, if you read their manifestos, if you read what they're doing, you could tell this isn't a theory that they're doing it. They've written about it for 100 years. I've read multiple books recently breaking down everything that's happening. But the people at the top know exactly what they're doing. But it's these lower level people that run, the smaller stuff, that think this is for their own benefit. But my point is, you don't have to agree with me. You could say we should wear a mask till 2040. But you gotta stop, or we should stop, people from stopping me from saying the opposite. It's like, you can't possibly disagree with me. No, you're on the wrong side. They're only framing it that way because, that's a perfect way to not be countered. What an easy path. If you can't even talk back to you, it's like, look, I win because I'm the only one here. That's what they're going for. And it's very sneaky, obviously, because if it wasn't sneaky, no one would agree with it. You have to be sneaky. It's like, I don't agree with how sneaky they are, but you get what I'm saying. If they told you what they were really doing, no one would like it. So the whole campaign is like deception, hide behind the media, censor anybody who disagrees, try to frame any doctor who has experience, who disagrees with us, as a kook and a nut. These are the games that they play, and they've been doing it for decades. It's just, in general, it's gotten 1,000 times worse this year. So that's my thoughts. Let me know yours. God bless you guys. God bless your family. God bless America. God bless the world. I'm going to answer questions or read some comments. As always, I'm working on a long sleeve for this. This is like a test design, but is thinking illegal yet? And then it has the community guidelines. It's a very cool shirt. I'm sorry it's backwards because I'm live. Check it out on dreamrare.com. That's DREAMRARE. I have Patreon, but I'm cool for today. I'll let y'all know. I'm working on a new video. It's going to be out tomorrow, one of my videos that takes hours to edit. So I went to Yosemite. I filmed a video there. So I had a good week with my friend. I still did work, but I also filmed some dead trees, and I got to the forest where all the California forests are on fire. I got footage of all that stuff for myself, so I'm going to do a video on that. I got videos in the chamber, but this next week I'm really going to be focusing on just nonstop work and cranking out videos before the election. So thank you guys for watching. God bless you, and I'm going to read some comments. Thank you, Kathy. I appreciate you. This is not soda, by the way. It's just sparkling water. I'm just letting you know. Let's see. Thank you, Richard. Appreciate you. Duana said they know Biden's unstable. I mean, I think they definitely aren't going to let him run the country for 4 years. God forbid if he won. I think, they'd probably replace him with Kamala pretty quickly. Someone said, I wish my kids would listen to you, Anomaly. Yeah, I don't know what to tell you. Hope maybe you could find a video that's interesting to them, but I hear you. Someone said, how will that change if Trump wins again? Well, here's the thing. I don't know what will and won't change if Trump wins again. And I will say this too. Trump isn't the fascist that they say he is. So a lot of this stuff, the pros and cons of the American system, are things move very slow. That's a con and a pro. So if you have somebody like a Gavin Newsom in charge, he doesn't operate based on that type of stuff. For instance, in California, people voted against this rent program. There was some rent thing on the ballot. Everybody voted against it. It lost, the prop lost, and he still passed it. He passed it with an executive order. So things like that are the stuff that the Democrats do. They're like the authoritarian fascists, and Trump doesn't actually do anything. So you got to look at Congress. You got to look at the House. You got to look at the FBI, the CIA, and Trump has done a lot to try to reform that. But in many ways, they have so many ways of kind of not listening or not doing what he wants to do. And he doesn't push them too hard, because if he did push them hard, everyone would call him a fascist. So he respects, the way the country is supposed to run. And I think in some ways that works against him and us, because a lot of these other people don't respect the way the country runs. And they know they don't have to answer questions. They don't have to follow the rules, because mass media is going to cover for them. So if Obama does stuff that's very corrupt, the media will cover for him. If Obama, does a bunch of executive orders, they'll leave him alone. So I think who knows what'll happen if Trump wins, but anything is possible. I do think though that he understands how real it is. I think the GOP now understands how real it is. And to be quite honest, I think big tech purposely finessed it just in time. Like, they didn't censor the GOP until 2 weeks before the election, and now it's too late to do anything. So they let me do my thing all year, and right before the election, they cut out my legs. They're smart with how they did it, because if they did it earlier, the Republicans probably would have done something about it. So I think they understand it now, and this is the part that I think Republicans need to do better, is demand that they do it. And this is why, I'll just tell you, this is why I go hard at the Charlie Kirks and the Ben Shapiros. No disrespect to them. I think they're both very impressive and have clearly done very well for themselves, so there's nothing to hate on. But they got these people in a spell where last year they were basically covering for cancel culture. They were canceling Nick Fuentes. They were canceling this person, canceling that person. And I said, if you don't agree with a debate or free speech with people you disagree with, you're going to lose it yourself. And that's what happened this year. So I think people need to get out of this spell on the right wing. You got the QAnon people who think Trump is going to, resurrect and save the world, so they don't want to do anything. You got the Charlie Kirk types who just believe everything he says, or the Ben Shapiro types. And now you look at the Republican base, and the amount of people who actually want to hold Republicans accountable is very small, because everybody's looking at Dan Crenshaw, Nikki Haley, and then, the GOP base, I wouldn't say it's divided, but it's complacent. It's like, we don't need to do everything. Trump's going to do everything. Mitch McConnell's doing everything. The truth is they weren't. They didn't, The predictions, no offense, because I don't want to talk bad about people who just got censored. I know a lot of QAnon accounts just got censored, and I don't agree with censorship. But to me, the predictions were all fake. I hate to say it, but it's like, it's cool you guys are researching and researching stuff that's important. But if you think Durham was going to save you, you were wrong. You got conned. I'm sorry that you got censored, but that was a lie. If you thought Bill Barr was going to protect you from, Podesta, it was a lie. So you got conned for 4 years into thinking Trump was Superman, and like, you know, the GOP were like Batman. It's like, dude, this is embarrassing level deception. You got deceived into thinking like it's all going to get done for you. And it's not a bad thing. The truth is, things will get done when Republicans demand it. But if you have Charlie Kirk supporting cancel culture while conning his audience into thinking that he doesn't, then that's a big portion. And then you have Ben Shapiro, who claims he's pro-free speech, but he says everything's anti-Semitic and calls everybody racist when they disagree with him. So he doesn't really believe in what he says. And then you have the QAnon people who are waiting for everyone else to do anything. So you take 3 of those audiences, which are 3 of the biggest GOP audiences, who's really there to challenge Trump on legal immigration? Michelle Malkin, the people that, you know, I would say the Charlie Kirk types try to cancel culture. So the ones who are actually doing the work that the GOP needs to do are the ones who are getting canceled by Republicans. So this is, if you want to get stuff done under the next administration, if Trump wins again, hold them accountable, stop playing dumb, stop following these phonies, no offense, but who lead you to think that they're doing what you think they're doing, but in reality, they're actually doing the opposite. They're supporting censorship, they're supporting bills that are adding to cancel culture, they themselves are adding to cancel culture. This was all going to happen. You know, this was all, whether you look at Big Pharma or you look at how both parties have sold out the U.S., this moment was never not going to happen. In a way, this year is like, you know, the conspiracy theorists were really proven right. If you would have told anybody last year that, you know, the country was going to shut down, they would have called you Alex Jones or Bill Cooper or David Icke. You know, oh my God, that's never going to happen, because people have seen this coming for decades. You know, I mean, I read about this in 2008 and watched documentaries about this, and everyone said it was crazy. And then this year, everything that everyone said was going to happen happened, and everybody's so shocked by it. But it's like, here we are, and how do we go back to a better place? You need to hold people accountable. But when 80% of people are, you know, hiking on a trail in the middle of nowhere with a cloth mask on, and 80% of the GOP just thinks Trump's going to do everything, when what really needs to happen is people need to put pressure on the GOP and say, Jim Jordan, he's a cool guy, right? We like Jim Jordan. He's cool. He sounds good in Congress, but he's taking money from Google, and he didn't do anything because he didn't care until a week ago. So it's like, you had a year to do it, but you didn't do it. Charlie Kirk talks a big game. He goes around to the college campuses and, you know, signs up people, and he does good work. But at the same time, he involved himself in cancel culture. Ben Shapiro was doing cancel culture. They both were smearing people. They both were lying about people. They both used the word racist and anti-Semitic too much, which adds to cancel culture and stops and prevents a real discussion from happening. So they were never fighting for free speech. So now you've lost free speech. So now, you know, you got to look at what's going on and being like, well, John Podesta's not arrested. You know, we don't have the freedom of speech. Socialism sucks, but socialism's here. And the GOP doesn't really even seem that desperate to get rid of it. So what has to happen? The people who support these people need to demand it. And when you demand it, you'll get it. But if everybody plays this game of like it's already secretly happening, you're never going to get it. So it's really that simple. And I hope that there's enough people who realize that. But it's hard when they cut the legs off of people who say this stuff and they boost these other Republicans who tell you half-truths and then lead you in the wrong direction. Those are the ones who get promoted on Snapchats, the younger kids. Those are the ones who get, you know, promoted on Instagram, and I'm sure they're not getting their reach cut on Facebook because they're not really a threat. They're just enough of a threat to tell you what's going on, but not enough of a threat where they're actually going to get you to do something about it. So there's a reason that my reach gets cut and their reach doesn't. And in some cases, eventually they're going to get cut too, because that's what happens under socialism. But there's a lot of games being played. I guess the point I'm trying to get across is, you know, God bless everybody. I'm not trying to talk bad about people for any other reason besides I think there's people who are holding others back from actually solving these problems, and it's going to take enough people on the right wing to actually demand it rather than just like sit and think like these people are doing it for you. That's my thoughts. All right, read some more comments. If you come to Zion National Park, I could be your tour guide. I'll go to Zion eventually, probably not soon, but yeah, I don't know about the personal tour guide thing, but I'll take your offer maybe. Someone said, can you believe that they're not going to allow Charlie Brown cartoons, The Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown Christmas? It's crazy. I'm not surprised though. Obviously I don't want that to happen. I love Charlie Brown, but here's what I have to say to you guys. And this is why I say what I just said. You can't be upset. Don't be angry. Don't be upset, because at a certain point, you're being upset about something that's obvious. Like, look at what's going on. Look at what's happening in the country. They got people wearing masks all over the place, and they're shutting down the country. We live in a communist country right now. So this shouldn't surprise you. You know, if you get perpetually angry over it, it's really your own fault, because you're like acting shocked every day, like Tim Pool on Twitter. Like, oh my God, holy shit. You know, he's always like freaking out. It's like, bro, at what point do you just realize what's going on? You don't have to accept it and bow down to it, but at a certain point, if you're just like bugging out all the time, it's like a boxer who's like angry. That's when you make a mistake. You know, it's like at a certain point, you have to understand what's going on and then do something about it. But this is the problem I have with certain people, and I hate to just talk bad about everybody, but it's like everybody's just running in circles. You know, they got you running in circles. So everyone's like, oh my God, I'm so mad all the time. It's like, what are you mad? What part of what's going on do you not understand? But a lot of people don't understand it because they don't tell you what's really going on. They just tell you buzzwords and stuff, and everyone's like freaking out all the time. Like, our country is being conquered. I don't know what part of this is even shocking anymore. They've shut down the country for 7 months. You live in an Orwellian sci-fi slave communist state where you're not even allowed to go indoors. So what, you know, they closed down beaches on 4th of July. You know, they've shut the country down since March, and you live in a communist slave state. So it's not a good thing, but it's like, you're surprised that they cut off Charlie Brown? What about the part where they just bankrupted, you know, thousands of businesses and totally just destroyed every aspect of the country that made the country great? What about the part where they put in plastic dividers and, you know, treat waitresses like animals and make them wear masks on their face, and everybody can't do their business as you? Like, what part of that did you miss? At this point, I mean, why wouldn't they cancel Charlie Brown? They've already ruined everything else. And, you know, at high levels, nobody seems to have a plan to actually counter this. Of course, the election's coming soon, but after the election, this is on you guys to actually, you know, challenge the people who control you to stop doing that. I don't know what to tell you. I have this. This is my way. I go to restaurants with this thing on, and when they tell me to put a mask on, I put this on, and I just scream, COVID's everywhere, oh my God, like, make sure you cover up, and I just make fun of them. And, you know, and then other places I just don't go because they've ruined the country. I used to like to go on cruises. They've ruined that. I mean, I've just accepted we live in a communist country. This is not a republic anymore. We've been conquered. And most people don't even seem to care that much. It's like jobs. It's like, yeah, what's the point? Like, I get it. Yeah, the economy's doing good, but like, are we going to get our freedom back, or are we just going to pretend like this never happened? I see very few content creators or news analysts even like addressing the elephant in the room, which is like the whole country's been completely conquered, and no one seems to have a remedy or a plan. But you know, I'm not trying to be mean, but at what point do you just stop being surprised and just like accept it, and then forge a plan of some sorts to get rid of it, as opposed to like being shocked it's happening? You know, it's clearly happening. So now we need a plan to move forward. I'm going to read. Angelica said, true, they have us running in circles while stabbing us in our chest right in front of us. I mean, it reminded me of last year. I hate to keep bringing this up, but they had the right wing talking about cancel culture. And I was trying to explain to people, but people don't want to hear. I'm like, your biggest idols, all these right-wing people that get all the money to go to the college campuses to tell you they're fighting for free speech, they're not fighting for free speech. They're supporting bills and legislation that's anti-First Amendment. They're canceling their own people. They're creating a bubble force field of right-wingers where if you don't worship the false ideology that they worship, they call you a racist or an anti-Semite. I saw this coming for a year now. So it's like when your idols on the right wing don't really support the First Amendment, it's not going to be there for very long. And I tried to explain this year. Anomaly, you don't understand. It's the Democrats. It's Ilhan Omar. Ilhan Omar, no offense, sucks. The Democrats, no offense, suck. I don't think they're helping you. I'm not saying they are. I think, you know, at this point, it's asinine to vote for Democrats. They're absolutely psychotic. But that doesn't mean that the people you think are fighting for you are fighting for you. They're not. The biggest leader of the Congress is taking money from Google. The biggest spokespeople for free speech are actively fighting free speech. So what happens when you don't believe in free speech? You lose it. So this year, I'm not even surprised. Like, I would be more surprised if you had free speech. Like, I'm not. Did you see me even upset when they took my money? I didn't get upset even the first day they took my money, because I knew they were going to steal my money, because we live in a communist technocracy slave state. So I was surprised I got to save up as much money as I did. So I'm actually happy. I saved up a lot this year comparative to what I could have. I'm bummed. The thing that really annoys me is my reach being cut. So not only have they stolen my money, but they've basically cut my reach in half or more. So it's like watching Tucker Carlson and the television not even showing you it. So that's what I'm more mad about than the money, is the fact that the videos that I used to get 500,000 views on, now they get like 100,000 views, not because it's not good, not because it's not right, because they've restricted me, like the communists they are, from even reaching my audience. So they've already destroyed my entire page. It's fine. I mean, I'm talking to 2,000 people and I'm grateful, but if they didn't do that, there'd probably be 6,000 people here. When I make a video that gets 100,000 views, it probably would have got 1 million views, not because of anything other than they've cut my reach. I'm not, but this was always going to happen. When you have a false dichotomy of two sides fighting each other, and the one side's slightly better and the one side's worse, but the side that's slightly better is literally doing the opposite of the Constitution, and nobody seems to care, and if you say it, everybody freaks out at you. I hate to say people deserve this year, but you kind of do. And I'm not trying to be mean, but I'm in Yosemite National Park, and over 60% of the people were wearing a cloth mask when there's so much smoke in the air. My eyes are bloodshot in my next video. It's not because I'm smoking. It's because the smoke from the forest fires were in my eyes and I can't see. My eyes are bloodshot. My throat hurts. You know what I'm saying? My clothes smell like smoke. And you got a bunch of idiots in the middle of nowhere not wearing an air filtering mask to protect their lungs, wearing a cloth mask that does nothing. So how in the world are you not going to be treated like a slave or a sheep when you act like a slave or a sheep? Like, you're going to get treated like you act like an animal. They treat you like an animal. You're walking back and forth looking for, like, should I do this? Should I do that? Should I be afraid? Yeah, you're going to get treated like this. It's like if 90% of the right wing doesn't seem to realize that they're not actually standing up for free speech, they're never going to actually stand up to it. That's why I have more respect for people like Michelle Malkin and Nick Fuentes. I don't agree with them on everything. In fact, we're very different people. However, I think they stick to something they believe in and then accomplish it. And a lot of these other right-wingers get annoyed when you point out things that aren't going on. Like Ann Coulter always complains about the wall. I'm not a big Ann Coulter fan, but I like the fact that she challenges Trump. Her whole spiel is like, I'm not just going to act like Trump's doing everything I want him to do. He's not. So maybe if I use my influence to try to make him do it, he'll do it. And Ann Coulter's actually right. Everybody says, oh, she's turning on Trump. No, that's how you accomplish things. If you just act like it's happening when it's not, or, it's a good idea to just allow the GOP to do like nothing when they have power, you get nothing. You get a watered down country that's just like a shell of what it once was. I pray that Trump wins. I pray that Republicans win. But the difference maker is going to be whether people hold them accountable or whether you just don't. So that's your power. That's the power of the people. And that's why false idols and false leaders and, controlled opposition and others is a big problem, because everybody feels comfortable, but just because you feel comfortable doesn't mean that person is truly who you think they are. But I digress. Everyone does their own thing. I do mine. I'm just bummed out I can't actually do my thing because I'm, being restricted. But, I'm innovative. I'll figure out my next move. I'm still transitioning. I'm transitioning genders. No, I'm just kidding. But I'm transitioning. So I'll figure out my next play. This month my play was to not lose a bunch of money and also still keep doing the videos and figure out a way to not, because they slashed my income. And it's not a selfish thing, but they know if you don't have money, you got to work somewhere else. So if they could take your money away, then, you're not going to be able to do what you're doing. That's why they have all this fundraising. NPR, PBS gets government subsidies. But you get what I'm saying? So they did that. So now I made sure that I could stay afloat financially. Now my next move will be, how do I create it? Maybe a new platform, or I don't know. I'll figure it out. But, I got to do it in due time, because I can't, I don't want to jump the gun and lose everything. I want to reach people, and they've cut that. So now I got to figure out my next move. Sherry said, this is God's country. God wins. I agree. Carol said, you're funny. You're sometimes funny. Well, thank you, Carol. That's kind of a it's kind of a sub diss. So you're like, you're funny sometimes, implying that I'm not always funny, which is probably true. You're right. Okay, I'll give you that one. Let me see. Becky said, review your ballot when you vote on a machine. I went and voted today and reviewed my votes. When I got back to the president, it looks like they switched your thing. Yeah, okay. If you vote on a machine, keep your eyes on it. Jeremiah said, quit crying about them taking your money, take the L and move on, fight for what's yours. I'm not crying about it, but I'm using my free speech and my platform to explain about it. And you could say what you want, but I wrote about it yesterday, and my tweet went viral. I mean, I got literal congressmen to say that they're gonna fight for it because everybody and their mama shared my tweet. So it's like, am I crying about it? No, I'm spreading awareness and I'm actually accomplishing stuff rather than me being like, ooh, Trump's gonna turn into Nikola Tesla and save me next year. It's like, no, I'm gonna say what I can now. So I'm doing, I mean, say what you want, I don't care. I don't have right now the resources to really put a legal case together. That might change, I'm working on it, but in general, I'm using what I do have, the power and influence that I do have. So it's not crying, it's smart. But once again, I'm just gonna say this, if you need consultation, if you need life coaching or anything, you can email me. Usually I do it for cheaper, but for you, it's like $1 million a minute. And for $1 million a minute, you could pay me and I could tell you how to do, change your life around. So instead of, telling me I'm crying, you should really be asking me for consultation. I could help you out, just like I've helped many others. So, it's a semi-joke, but anyway. Dagmar said this will pass. Congress is subpoenaing Facebook. They're not going to do, subpoena's not going to do it. That's just a show, but eventually maybe. So I'm on Parler, parler.com/dreamrare. I'm in the Parler game. Someone said Trump can't run the whole Congress. Yeah, for sure. He can only do so much. No question. Justin, thank you, Justin. Becky, thank you. Yeah, it's all good. It is what it is. Let me see. Carol said, your shorter videos have helped at least 2 people I know consider the false logic of BLM and Democrats. Well, thank you. I appreciate it. And that's why I make a lot of short videos. There's another short video coming tomorrow. I mean, I'm not patting myself on the back, but I am going to say this. Since they're stealing everything from me, I want to actually document history. I've done a lot. I helped Candace Owens get over 20 million views when she had none. I helped, really launch her into where she is now. And she would have done it on her own. I'm not taking any credit. I'm just saying she knows that. When it was crunch time, I helped amplify that message. I helped Brandon Straka. I think I probably helped millions of people realize that. And I'm not saying it. I'm just saying, they're going to try to falsify my history. They're going to try to steal my reach. They're going to try to cut the legs out from under me. They're going to try to write that I was some sort of kook or whatever. But I have influenced a lot of people, and that's why they hate me. And that's why they're coming for, everything I've built. Because they know if in a fair arena, people look at what I say and they know it's true. And they, but whatever. I'll keep making shorter videos. I'm making them now on Instagram. I get like 120,000 per video just on Instagram. So people are definitely waking up, and I'll find a new way to do it. But these are the games that they play. I just wanted to document my history properly because they don't invite me on Fox News. They don't invite, and it's fine. I don't need the invite, but it's like, I do my part, and not only do they not do anything about it, but then they just, it is what it is. I don't want to get frustrated. I don't want to start crying again because then whatever his name will get offended that I'm crying. Thank you, Jen. I appreciate you. Thank you, Brenda. I appreciate you. All right, I'm going to read this real quick. Let me see. Bright Mandala, I'd love to debunk this. Let me see. Bright said, LOL, crybaby, tax affects people who get $400,000 a year. Majority of black people don't get nearly a tenth of that. Here, Bright, I'll give you a quote since you're falling for the same trap. California has one of the highest taxes, okay? California taxes businesses the highest. California has some of the craziest healthcare plans. It doesn't stop poverty. California has the highest poverty. They have one of the biggest economies in the world. Their economy in California is so big, it competes with most other countries. It's like top 6 in the entire world, and they have the most poverty. So your idea is like, oh, it's only black people don't have $400,000 a year. First of all, thousands of black people make more than that, okay? A lot of black people make more than that. And also, for the people who don't make more than that, your theory is if they take money from those people and take money from these people and give it to the government, then all black people are going to have more money. That's not how it works. You're giving tax dollars go to the government. When I had no money in my bank account, it was Democrats taking more of my tax money and taking my health insurance tax. They had a tax on my health insurance, forced me to get it, and penalized me thousands of dollars if I didn't get it. Democrats steal money not just from the wealthy, from the middle class, and in some cases even from the working and lower class. And your idea is like, well, rich people have more money. You're falling for Karl Marx's little con artist trap. It's like, well, rich people have too much money, so the black people need money. Name one state that tax is really high, that there's no poverty in. It doesn't exist because you're not giving the money to these neighborhoods. You're giving the money to the federal government. That's where tax dollars go. So it's like the progressive is like, yeah, 50 Cent's a dangerous man, because it's like, dude, find me the state where they take everybody's tax money and there's no poverty. It doesn't exist. You're giving money to the government. You're giving up your rights. And whether Democrats and fact checkers want to lie about it, they raise taxes on working people as well. They raise it way on the wealthy. The wealthy leave because nobody wants to pay that. And then who foots the bill? It's going to be the working class either way, whether they stay or not. So this false dichotomy of like, I get it. If you make more than $400,000 a year, you're doing well. But if the government takes 50% of your money, that doesn't mean people out of poverty get money. It just means middle to upper middle class people or upper higher class people are just losing money to the government. And then the government just swallows you alive. So it's like, get over yourself. It's like, well, you have so much money, so just give it to the government. Yeah, let me give $200,000 to the government so they could bomb Yemen one time. That's like one bomb. It's like bomb Yemen for Saudi Arabia or Israel or something. And then I don't know, maybe it's for oil. I don't know what they're doing over there anymore. It's like, okay, there's my tax money, just dropped in a bomb. $1 billion, that's what they got, over $1 billion for homelessness. Did they solve homelessness? No, the government spent $1 billion and there's more homeless people. Do you know why? Because Democrats don't know what they're doing. They just siphon money in circles, give it to their contractor friends, nothing happens, and then idiots like you come to my page like, well, the $400,000 is too much money. So what's your solution then? Give the money to the government so they can just funnel billions of dollars around and make the problem that they claim to help worse? This is the problem with people. They just believe these little talking bites. Like Bernie Sanders said, Bernie Sanders is a liar, just like Karl Marx. They're very similar in their sneakery. Someone said tax on gas is outrageous in California. Yeah, and who has gas in California? Everybody who works, most people have a car. And guess what they have to do? Fill their car with gas. And guess how much gas costs in California? Way more. Why? Because of Democrats. They don't do anything right. Literally, I complained about the GOP for 20 minutes, but it's like, Democrats are obviously worse. But it's like, yeah, they tax the crap out of the lower class. They tax the crap out of the middle class. They tax the crap out of working people. They screw you over with your health insurance. And then they turn around and brainwash people into thinking that stealing 50 cents money is somehow going to make them rich. Well, 50 Cent has too much money, so if the government takes his money, I'll be rich. No, you're going to be even poorer, because that's what Democrats do. They con you into being like jealous. Like, well, 50 Cent has all that money, so he needs to get, the government doesn't need 50 cents money, bro. They just made $1 trillion out of thin air. They were like, oh, we need trillions of dollars. I'll just make something up. And then everyone gets trillions of dollars. You think they need a couple 100,000 or a couple million from 50 Cent? That's like one bomb, okay? They don't need wealthy people's money. Like, yeah, you should pay taxes, but at the end of the day, raising taxes on everybody and then claiming you're only taking 50 cents taxes, they always do this. Democrats tax everyone. Not just 50 Cent, but even if it was just 50 Cent, you're not getting the money. This is the problem with these communists. I read the stupid Communist Manifesto. They're like, Karl Marx wants to save our lives. It's like, no, Karl Marx wants to take all the money. He wants central banking, which we already have, so you're already screwed. Central banking, total control of transport, total control of communication, abolishment of private property, total takeover of private property, total takeover of education. Do you not see how that's not going to go in your favor? Oh, he's taking everything from everyone, so he's going to give it to black people. It's like, who told you this? They're lying. Karl Marx's strategy was take everything and convince really dumb people that it's somehow going to get to everyone else's. Well, 50 Cent has too much money, so if we take everybody's everything, then they'll just give it to everyone else. Like, that's not obviously ever how it's going to work. Where do people learn this stuff? All right, I got to stop ranting. I'm hungry. I want lunch. let's see, two more questions and I'm out. Such a joke. And for the record, before I move on, when I had no money, I had less than $1,000 or $2,000 saved, if even that. I'm living paycheck to paycheck. I'm working for $10 an hour doing assistant work for somebody in Beverly Hills. I have no money. Democrats are still stealing my money. They're still taking my taxes. The gas prices are still insane. There's taxes on everything. Everywhere you go, they're taxing more. And then they did the individual mandate where they forced me to buy health insurance that I couldn't afford. And if I didn't buy it, they stole my money. Democrats are thieves. All they do is steal money, not just from 50 Cent, from you. It's like, oh, I have more money in my paycheck. How come? Because of Trump. Because they lied on the television and told you he just cut it for corporations, but he actually cut it for most people. So even if you're working class, you have more money because Trump's not stealing everybody's money. The Democrats are stealing everybody's money. Oh, it's just 50 Cent and Oprah. No, it's everyone. Pay attention. Open your eyes. This is what woke me up when I like Bernie Sanders. I was told that he only steals from Warren Buffett. But in reality, I have no money. I can't even pay rent. And the Democrats are taking from me. I'm like, I thought it was just the 60% from 50 Cent. No, it's my money. It's my health insurance. It's my individual mandate. It's my rent. Democrats steal from everyone, even if you're poor. I was literally poor, and I'm not crying about it. I'm not on the street or anything, but I had no money, no savings, no car, no house. I still have none of that stuff, but in general, it's I had, nothing to my name. I didn't own a single thing of value, and I was month to month. And Democrats are stealing my money. Well, maybe if we lie enough and tell everybody that we're just stealing it from 50 Cent, they'll believe it. It's not true. Fact check, PolitiFact says, shut up, PolitiFact. Shut up, Snopes. Joe Biden won't do it. You don't know what Joe Biden's going to do. Well, Joe Biden's not going to ban fracking because we want to win California. You don't know what he's going to do besides Trump. Trump did what he said he was going to do. Whether you love it or hate it, he's like, I'm moving the embassy. I'm doing this. He did everything he said he was going to do. He's the only politician in my lifetime that did what he said he's going to do. So this idea that they could fact check you on what they think Joe Biden's going to do, he probably wouldn't even last a year in office before they replace him with Kamala Harris. Or Kamala. I'm sorry, it's racist to not pronounce the name. Kamala. It's Kamala. But in general, it's they're fact checking on what they think Joe Biden's going to do. How do you know what he's going to do when no politician ever does what they say they're going to do? These people are such liars. Brainwash. It's 50 cents money. No, it's everybody's money. All right. Someone said, yep, I'm poor and Democrats still steal my money. They're always stealing from the poor. They're always stealing from the middle class, and it should wake people up. I'm going to repeat this again. You can fact check me all you want and go search for it. California is such a big state with all the tech companies and all the industry. California has one of the biggest economies, not in the country, in the world. If California was its own state or its own country, it would have one of the biggest economies in the world, and it's leading the nation in poverty, and it's one of the worst homeless crises in the country. How could you have the most money, but the most poverty, but also the most homelessness? It's because Democrats steal from everybody. They make more poor people, not less, they make more. They kick rich people out, or literally just find a loophole or something, or they're rich enough to pay for it, and then take from everybody else. Yeah, maybe they'll take from the rich too, but who cares? It's well, I want everybody to lose their money. 50 Cent should lose more money than I should lose. No, I wouldn't care if 50 Cent paid zero taxes, because I think most taxes are a scam. They don't need all our money. They're just printing money out of thin air. And in general, why should we pay taxes when they're shutting us down? Oh, 50 Cent should pay $2 million in taxes so he can not tour. It's here, take my money, government, so I can't even run my business. Here, you deserve all my money when I can't even go make more money because you're not allowing me to. But Jeff Bezos and Mark Zuckerberg can. What a joke. Someone said, why don't Californians talk about the rolling brownouts like a third world country? Because people are so brainwashed. Either they're so elite that they don't understand it's happening, or they're just idiots. We have this revolutionary new plan. What about the old plan that you screwed up on? There's millions of people who lose power. This is like a third world country already. Not for me, I have power, luckily, but other people don't have power. You know that, that's not normal. That's specifically because of their policies, but they brainwash everyone with media into not realizing it. It's so insane. But is anything surprising anymore? I mean, just walk around. I feel like I'm in a stupid movie. But this is why I don't watch movies. They show everybody these stupid movies. They brainwash people with these stupid movies and this stupid music and this stupid stuff. And then everybody becomes stupid. And then everybody repeats what they see. And now you have a monkey see, monkey do society where everybody just turned this into pandemic land. They're like, masks don't work. Masks work. We're not going to do this. We're going to do this. And now everyone's like, and you just got like, hey, can I have this? And they're like, sure, you can have that. Can I see your analysis? Thank you for, it's like, take your mask off. Not you, because then that's a hate crime. That's why I wear my helmet, because I'm so tired of this. Okay. One more question. We'll end on a good note. Someone said I don't want to go to California. I mean, California has some beautiful areas, but honestly, like, I drove through almost all of California this week. Most of it is under smoke. I mean, from Bakersfield to Yosemite was just a whole smoke screen. It looks like literally hell. And I'm not, no disrespect. I mean, it's a nice area, but the whole sky is covered in smoke. It's like insane. It was pretty bad, but. Someone said 800 billionaires own everything you have, capitalism. Well, I don't want to spend too much time because I got to go, but the communism capitalism debate is, it gets really stale because you have your right wingers who just say capitalism, 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 and then you have your left wingers who say communism, but it's like, let's start with the obvious. Okay, just because capitalism is not working, is communism going to work? Look at what it is. Basically, communism is giving the capitalists, the most elite capitalists, more power. Why do you think Bezos supports Black Lives Matter, who is a Marxist organization using racial tactics to achieve Marxist goals? I'm not just making this up. Look at the founders. Look who started it. And look who funds it. Why does Bezos support it? Why does Twitter support it? Why does Facebook support it? They support it because communism is not a threat to these elites, to the top capitalist elites. Communism is in no way, shape, or form a threat. It's literally consolidating more power under a total shutdown. Who suffers? Mom and pop shops, small businesses, restaurant owners. Who doesn't suffer? Uber Eats, Uber, Facebook. They're swallowing this stuff up. That's why they support communism. So just because capitalism sucks in some ways doesn't mean communism is the solution. Communism is slavery. Communism is the bankers and the elites conning working people into thinking giving them even more power is a good idea. Now let's go to capitalism. We have crony capitalism. It's a totally messed up system that is, not even really capitalist because of central banks. If you look up, Lenin has a quote. He says 90% of communizing a nation is getting a central bank. Once you don't own the money, once the money is in a central location, it's over. And he knew that. And we gave away our bank in 1918. So we've been on the road to communism slowly since then. So in general, this is a crony capitalist system because we have a communist banking structure. And if you own the money, it's not hard to get everything else. Oh, how do they have this? How do they have that? It's like if I own the bank, how are you going to stop me from getting anything else? I own the money. But that's why they don't want to let you talk about that. If you say anything about it, they say it's hate speech to talk about people who own bank and media. It's like, is it, or is it just basic common sense of what's going on? It's not everybody, but it's like, yeah, it's really happening. But in general, the whole system is a little crony, but that doesn't mean full communism is going to save you. This is like the dynamic where it's like, at this point in a crony capitalist system, you want to keep any property that you own, any right to freedom of speech that you own, any guns that you own. You want to be able to keep anything that you have in this crony system. Who wants to let you keep that? Somewhat Republicans, Trump, libertarians, right-wingers. Who wants to take that from you? Left-wingers. Why? Because they support communism. Communism is not for you. They don't want you to have guns. They don't want you to have free speech. They don't want you to have the right to transport. They want everything. And they're geared to take everything. Uber can take over the entire, structure. So could Tesla, but I actually like Elon Musk. But in general, this is not a threat to the system. This is why they're implementing it. So yes, our capitalist system is crony. But at this point, you should be right-wing. I'm not going to tell people how to feel, but if you don't want to keep your freedom of speech, if you don't want to keep your Second Amendment, if you don't want to keep your private property, if you don't want to not wear a mask your whole life and have closures that destroys every industry. And I mean, you're having record number just destruction forced by the government. This is communism. This is authoritarianism, fascism, whatever you want to call it. Government destroying your business and not allowing you to open, not allowing you to operate like a free human because you're not free. So at this point, clearly both sides are a little phony, but if you're not leaning right, you're not paying attention or you're not telling yourself the truth. But that's for you to figure out. If you don't want to figure it out or there's too much social pressure because your friends, feel a certain way, that's on you. But I mean, you'll figure it out sooner than later. Or if you don't, you'll figure out the consequences of not figuring it out. And what happens when all these things that you think are good aren't really good, you'll find out. And at this point, it's not a stretch. I mean, look what they did this year. Just imagine what they could do if they had the White House. Imagine what they could do if they have all of Congress. I mean, and we'll see what happens with this mail-in election. But this whole year is like a blueprint. Like, this is not random. Like, anybody that thinks this is random, this just randomly happened. They've planned this out for a decade. They've had plans similar. They've had ideas. They've had goals to achieve, and they weren't achieving them because people weren't voting for the candidates that they wanted them to. So this year just conveniently just ushered in every single thing that they wanted. Well, isn't that just amazing? And combined with a really odd system of voting that is confusing and forces more people to, vote earlier, vote by mail, and it's just such a joke. And I'm not talking about normal mail-in voting, but they're passing laws in Pennsylvania where you can not, your signature doesn't even match, but they're allowing your vote to go through. What does that tell you? Like, it's like giving someone an ID. They say IDs are racist. You go to the airport and they look at your ID. If it's not you on the ID, they don't let you on the plane. That's how voting should be, but it's not. So you have signatures sometimes. And if your signature doesn't match the signature, it's like a shittier version of testing your face. Then they would not let it pass. And in Pennsylvania, you don't have to have an ID. You don't even have to match the signature. Of course people could cheat that way, but no one cares. They'll just say it's a conspiracy theory and it's Alex Jones and Trump said that. It's like, what a joke this has become. But I gotta go, guys. God bless you. I'll read this one more. Thomas came in with the good question right before, and then I'm out. He said, if Trump and his administration is not reelected, how will we stop the communist flow? I mean, if he is reelected, it's hard enough to stop because every company, most of the tech companies, most of the people with a lot of power, they all have this mindset. So even if Trump wins, it's going to be tough. If he loses, it's going to be even tougher, but maybe it's a blessing in disguise because then people are going to realize how real it gets. It's going to have to come either way, whether Trump wins or loses, from the people. Enough people are going to have to demand freedom. And I think your first two amendments put you at an advantage to other countries because there's a lot of people, although they're not covered on the media, that understand. Someone said you don't need an ID to fly. You need an ID to fly. What are you talking about? Have you ever gone on a plane without an ID? I've never, maybe you have. I've never got on a plane without an identification. Every single time I fly, they take my license and they scan it and they look at it. You've gotten on a plane before without an ID? I've never met anyone like that, but maybe you go on some like Spirit Airlines or something. But anyway, either way, it's going to be tough, but I believe in it. I believe, I pray that this is just, I hope it's a red wave, and then I hope that, Trump and the American people get tough and that, things just start to flow in the right direction. But, it could go either way. That's a complex answer. And since I'm on my way out, I don't want to spend too much time, but I will be back. I'll hang out for hours. I have all this week I'm dedicated to work. So I'll have a lot of time. I'll go live a few times this next week. I'll do a lot of short videos. If all goes right, I'll have a short video tomorrow morning. Sunday morning, I'll have a nice little video about the dark winter that Joe Biden talked about. It's pretty interesting, and I got a lot of interesting clips that I'm not even semi-allowed to play because they'll probably shut my page down, but I'm going to try anyway, figure out a way to finesse it. God bless you guys. God bless your family. God bless America. God bless the world. Hopefully you had a good day. I always have fun here. Even when I fake get mad, I think it's kind of funny. Hopefully it was funny. I don't know. Someone said I'm funny sometimes, so hopefully this was that sometime. But appreciate you guys, and I want to say two things real quick. If you don't do anything, sign up to my free email list. It's 100% free. It's stayintouchwithme.com. Stayintouchwithme.com. It's all one word. Just sign your email thing up. It's just good to have your emails for reasons obvious. And then dreamrare.com. I apologize. These hats are sold out. I didn't expect that, but I guess we're crushing so much they ran out of white hats. So I'm going to have more of these in. The pink one sold out, and I think the black ones are there. So I'm going to have to get creative. I'm going to have to start figuring out ways to do stuff. But if you ordered a pink or a white hat and it's delaying, the reason is because they ran out. They just got new pink hats in, so the pink hats should be shipping out next week. The white hats, I'm going to call the company on Monday and figure out what's going on with the white hats. But a lot of people ordered them, and I guess that day they realized that they were out. So if you have a white hat and it's sitting there, that's the reason. For the most part, it's smooth, all the shipping and stuff. And if for some reason it's not, feel free to email me. And if there's something like someone told me she had a birthday present, she wasn't going to get it in time, just let me know. I'll give you a refund and I'll figure out a way to get you what you want. So email my manager account, manager@legendary.vision. It's me most of the time anyway, but in general, let me know and I'll take care of it. But I'll get the white hats in soon. I don't know. We sold out. I can't help it. I'm sorry. We're too popular. Too many people are buying them, but they should be in soon. And the pink hats are back. All right. God bless you guys. I'll be back. Thanks for being here.